The time is 5:31 p.m., Tuesday, July 28th, 2020. I call this meeting from the San Francisco MTA to order. My name is Hakem Ibrahim, and I'm a hearing officer for the City and County of San Francisco. I'll be facilitating this public meeting. I want everyone in attendance to know that audio and video from today's meeting is being recorded. The purpose of today's meeting is to discuss the installation of temporary emergency transit lanes on Mission Street, south of Market. These changes, although temporary, have been previously approved by the SFMTA Board of Directors. The goal of today's meeting is to provide outreach regarding the need for the change and information detailing the changes. These public meetings would normally be conducted at City Hall, SFMTA headquarters, or a community center. But in a sign of the times, we're holding this meeting online. So I want to thank everyone for joining us via video or audio conferencing. If you are joining us via online video conferencing, you can view the shared materials presented during the public meeting. However, if you'd like to make public comments, you still have to dial in using the following phone number, 1-888-363-4734. Then enter code 701-4320. For users joining us via video conference, ensure that you select Don't Join Audio for the best online experience. When I open the phone line for public comment, you'll dial 1, then 0 to be placed in the queue for public comment. And each speaker will have up to 2 minutes to provide public comments. If you'd like to, can we get to the next slide, please? If you prefer to provide comments and or feedback regarding today's meeting in writing, you can email your comments to tellmuni@sfmta.com. That email address will be monitored during tonight's meeting. The email is on the screen right now. For those listening, the email once again is tellmuni@sfmta.com. That's TELLMUNI@sfmta.com. Joining me today are a number of San Francisco MTA staff members. Aaron McMillan is a public information officer with the MTA. Aaron planned and organized today's meeting, so I thank you for your role in making today's meeting happen. Presenting today will be Steve Boland. Steve is the project manager for the Temporary Emergency Transit Lanes project on Mission Street. We also have members of the project team that are joining us. Michael Rhodes is a manager in the Transit Planning Division, and Hester Yu is a transportation engineer. We are also joined by Mahmoud Abouni of Civic Edge, who is assisting with note-taking and administering the poll questions throughout today's meeting. With that said, I would also like to thank members of our IT department who are providing support for today's meeting. Their support is always appreciated. So with that said, we will start the meeting with a poll question. Get the next slide. We'll talk a little bit briefly just about the how we're going to be using the polling software today. We will be conducting instant polls using Poll Everywhere. So when a poll is active, as it is now, you can respond by going to pollev.com/SFMTA ride. That email address is on the screen again. For those listening, the website address is pollev.com/SFMTA RIDE. You can also text SFMTA ride to 22333. That will also activate the poll question. Again, it's SFMTA RIDE. Text that to 22333. And the first poll question is, how did you learn about today's meeting? And if you follow the instructions on the prior slide, you should get the various options to answer. Just hold a second for people to respond. Again, if you're just joining us, we're taking instant poll questions. You can text SFMTARIDE to 22333 to participate in the poll question, or you can go to the website pollev.com/SFMTARIDE. We'll be asking a number of questions throughout tonight's meeting. Okay, we'll move on. With that said, I will now turn it over to Steve, who will start the presentation.
All right. Thank you, Hakim. As Hakim mentioned, my name is Steve Boland. I am in the Transit Planning Group at the SFMTA, and I'm here tonight to talk to you about our new Temporary Emergency Transit Lanes program, which, as Hakim mentioned, was approved by our board last month. I'm sorry, can we advance the slide, please? Thank you. Thank you. This program is one of several ways that we as an agency are responding to the COVID-19 crisis. Going forward, previous slide, please. Going forward, safe and reliable public transit is going to be critical not just for essential workers, but to support the eventual reopening of schools, as well as the larger economy. In short, Muni will be critical to the city's recovery. So, as you may know, traffic has been returning much faster than either economic activity or transit ridership. And if we continue on this path, our streets are going to be gridlocked far worse than before. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this map shows the travel time savings during shelter in place in some of Muni's busiest corridors. The average was 15% during peak periods, but some segments saw up to a 50% time savings. Notably, however, where we had already implemented what we call Muni forward improvements, including transit-only lanes, we saw relatively little time savings. And this is because transit lanes were already protecting buses from traffic. The idea behind the TETL program is to use transit lanes to save time in more places, and, in turn, to invest this savings in more frequent service using the same number of buses. This will make transit more useful and attractive, but it will also reduce crowding. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. So temporary emergency transit lanes will be provided in the most urgent locations, including Mission in the segment south of Market, starting in a few weeks. Because the lanes will be painted, the stripes will be painted, and they will not be red carpet lanes, which are more permanent, they will be easily removable. And unless our board takes further action, they will have to be removed within 120 days after the city's emergency order is lifted. And I should note, by the way, that transit lanes can also be used by emergency vehicles. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. The program is meant to ensure that people who have the fewest travel choices, especially lower income people of color, are not stuck on crowded, slow buses. It'll help reduce the spread of COVID-19 as the city continues shelter in place and as we continue to reopen. And it will ensure that the city's economic recovery isn't stopped in its tracks by crippling traffic congestion. Next slide, please.
Steve, I just wanted to chime in that there is a bit of delay.
Okay, thank you. So the temporary emergency transit lanes that you see here on this map, including Mission Street, were chosen based on factors including travel time savings, social equity, input from supervisors, ease of implementation, proximity to hospitals, transit service levels, and complementary benefits such as bike safety. Each of these lanes will serve routes that serve Muni service equity strategy neighborhoods, and people in those neighborhoods will benefit even if the lane isn't in their neighborhood, as service all along the route will become more frequent and reliable. Next slide, please. So Mission Street. Mission was chosen as one of the first corridors to be implemented as part of the TETL program. It is the second busiest bus corridor in the city, and the 14 and the 14R serve multiple equity strategy neighborhoods, including South of Market, the Mission, and the Excelsior. The 14R's ridership is 82% people of color and 62% low income. Now, as you may know, this part of Mission between 1st and 11th Streets already has transit lanes, but they are only part-time. And in most cases, when they are in effect, all parking and loading has to be prohibited on that side of the street in order to make them wide enough. At other times, buses operate in traffic lanes that are no wider than the buses themselves. And this leads to side swipes and a higher risk of collision for all vehicles. Next slide, please. Thank you. So here you can see the view from a bus that is straddling the lanes to avoid vehicles parked along the curb. Over the last 5 years, we counted a total of 255 sideswipe collisions involving Muni. That's almost one per week. And interestingly, rates were highest between 6 and 7 p.m., just after tow-away restrictions are lifted on many blocks. Rates also increased by 150% after tow-away ended in the morning at 9 a.m. And I should point out that collisions can also occur when tow-away restrictions are in effect, as cars and trucks may try to squeeze past buses at stops. Next slide, please. So what we are proposing is to remove parking and loading on one side of the street. This will allow us to widen the remaining lanes, and because we won't need to prohibit parking and loading to make the outer lanes wide enough for buses, we can both make the lanes full-time and lift the tow-away restrictions on all of the remaining parking and loading. As part of our TETL Quick Build project, we have varied the side where parking and loading would be removed from block to block in order to minimize the impacts. And we have converted some remaining parking spaces to loading to replace loading spaces that will be removed, at least on a temporary basis. But as part of this project, we will be seeking your feedback on where loading spaces are most needed. Next slide, please. So just quickly, here is a diagram showing block faces where parking and loading is currently allowed and where it would be allowed and not allowed at different times. The top 4 there are the existing condition at different times of day and night, and the bottom is what we are proposing. I should note that this is a simplified diagram. In the planned part, on some block faces where parking and loading would still be allowed, there might be fewer spaces than there are today. But as you can see, we will be simplifying the current arrangement by getting rid of the existing tow-away restrictions. And as you can also see, these tow-away restrictions can take up a good part of the day, both morning and evening rush hours in most cases. There will actually be more parking and loading available or more spaces available late afternoon than there is currently. Next slide, please. Sorry, thank you. So as part of the TETL program, we are developing a framework for evaluation of these temporary lanes. We are asking you about some potential areas for evaluation as part of the survey that we are conducting tonight. But we'll also be developing a public outreach strategy that will allow us to engage with the entire community. Observation and feedback will help us decide whether the lanes should be made permanent, but also if adjustments and modifications should be made so that the permanent version, if adopted, is different from the temporary version. And with that, I conclude my portion of the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Steve. At this point, what we'll do is we'll go to our next poll question, our second poll question, which is what are the most important metrics to evaluate in this project? Again, if you joined the slate, we are doing instant polling, and we're actually going to do the next 3 questions back to back to back. So if you have not logged in to the polling feature, we would like you to go to the website pollev.com/SFMTA-RIDE, or you can text SFMTA-RIDE to 22333. Those are the two ways that you can participate in our polling questions. Again, for those listening, the website is pollev.com/SFMTA, SFMTA ride, POLLEV.com/SFMTA RIDE. The presentation. Okay, maybe we'll come back to the poll questions. Looks like we may have lost the polling questions. So we'll move on. We'll now open it up if anyone on listening on the phone or joining us via Skype would like to provide public comment. Again, there's two ways to do that. The first way is to you can email if you'd like to provide written comments. Tell muni@sfmta.com, or you can press 1 then 0 on your keypad, and that will place you in the queue for public comment. Let's see. Okay.
You have 0 questions remaining.
Okay. So again, if you would like to provide public comment, let's see if I can get this up for you to see. Okay, we're back, it looks like. Let's get everyone, again, anyone who wanted to provide public comment queued up while we get to the poll questions. Okay. So that was our second question, was what are the most important metrics to evaluate in this project? Let's move on to the next question, question number 3. Question number 3 is, what is your preferred method for giving feedback on this transit lane project? Again, if you want to provide feedback or answer these poll questions, the website pollev.com/SFMTA RIDE, or text SFMTA RIDE to 22333. And as we're waiting for some of these poll questions, these answers to come in, again, if you're on the, would like to provide public comment, dial 1 then 0 to be queued up for public comment. That's where we're going to go next. Okay, let's move on to the next question, our fourth and final question. Oh, okay, we only had 3 questions. So again, here the instructions again, if you would like to provide public comment, we're going to leave this slide up for while public comments are coming in, or while we're taking public comments. Dial the number 1-888-363-4734, then enter code 701-4320#. And let's see if anyone's waiting for public comments.
You have 0 questions remaining.
Okay, I got no one.
There are 5 participants on the call, including you.
So it shows I have 5 people calling in that are on the line. Again, I just want to make sure if you are on the phone line and you'd like to provide public comment, you need to dial 1, then 0 to provide public comment.
You have 0 questions remaining.
Okay. Let me try something else just to make sure we're not having an issue with the audio.
All participants are now in interactive talk mode.
So I've opened the line to everyone. I just want to make sure I have 5 participants who are on the line and that you did not want to provide public comments. We're just making sure there's no issue with our conference bridge.
All participants are now in listen-only mode.
Okay. I'm going to have someone from IT just test the public comment line. While we're doing that, I know we received some email, at least one, possibly more. I'll turn it over to Aaron, who will read those questions into the record.
Your conference is now in question and answer mode. To summon each question, press 1, then 0. Each question will be asked in the order it was received.
Sorry for that interruption. Go ahead, Aaron, if you wanted to read the email questions that we received.
Yeah, give me one more minute, Hakem, sorry. It looks like via Telmuni we got one email in support and then another email saying the texting is not working. Oh, the poll question was maybe not working for them.
Okay. Okay, so let's try the phone line again. IT confirmed that it's working. Let's test the audio.
You have 1 question remaining.
Warren, is that you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, Warren.
You have 0 questions remaining.
So it looks like that's all we have. I think if we move to the next slide. Hold on. Let's see what we got. Okay, so we can do that if someone had emailed and stated that they were did not have any luck providing their poll responses by email. So if you want, we've put up the last slide here. Let's do, yes, the last slide. If you want to provide your answers to the poll questions, then you can dial 415-646-2350. That's a hotline for the project, and it is being monitored by the team. So if you wanted to provide polling questions, polling answers, you can dial that number, 415-646-2350. Also, if you, again, would like to provide any additional comments or, again, in writing, you can also provide comments to the email address that's on the screen right now, tellmuni@sfmta.com. Again, for those listening, it's TELLMUNI@sfmta.com. We also ask that if you can take the time, we always, the agency always likes to understand who our riders are and how we can provide better service to them. You can complete our demographic survey at sfmta.com/TETL survey. Again, that's sfmta.com/TETL survey. Okay. I'm going to just go right back to the phone lines just in case, just to make sure we didn't miss anyone.
You have 0 questions remaining.
Okay, so still no questions. And I want to ask Steve, did you want to mention anything else before we end this meeting today?
I don't have any additional comments at this time, Hakim. Thank you.
Okay, it must be a testament to the great job you guys did and how much this project makes sense and was presented. Definitely new territory with no one providing public comment. So with that said, it is 5:59, and I want to thank everyone for joining us, including staff and IT for being there to test the phone lines and our connection. This meeting is now adjourned.